ladies and gentlemen. My name is Allison Cruz, and welcome to my walkthrough of Eco. Yeah, this game is pretty awesome. I'm not gonna lie. If you've heard of it, chances are you probably have not played it, and if you have played it, then I tip my hat to you, good sir, because you have amazing taste in games. This has got to be, I guess, on my accumulative list of best games of all time on there, and that thing starts really soon here. This is a very underrated game. If you have not played it, I highly suggest you pick it up. I'm playing the Shadows of the Colossus / Eco Collection right here, so I decided now is a good enough time to do this because I've been planning to do this for a while, and there goes my watch. So we're going to go ahead and continue. I'm doing continue because I went ahead, ran through the game, and I went ahead and beat it. It took 4 hours after not having played it for like, I think 8 or 7 years. So that's not too bad, but this is a very short game, and we're going to play on New Game Plus because I guess I'll explain over this first cutscene while I kind of go over the details of this game. Basically, you have interactions between the protagonist, which is Eco, as well as the girl, as you guys should all know, her name is Yorda. And then we've also got the queen, which is the antagonist. And basically, Yorda's dialect is ununderstandable to us. We can't understand what she's saying, but if you're playing on New Game Plus, you will be able to understand it. So there's that. I just did it for the, just for the sake of a walkthrough. And so, yeah, this game came out in 2001 on the PlayStation 2. It was not very well received in the United States, probably due to the cover art, which is initially what turned me off to the game when I first heard it come out. And then there was also the fact that it didn't really have an English name. It was Eco, and it wasn't really, I don't know, people usually buy things based on their names, and that's why Team Eco's future games have been a little bit more, I guess, accessible to the English public, which would, Shadow of the Colossus. Sorry, I always say Shadows of the Colossus because I'm so used to saying Shadows of the Damned. And then there's also The Last Guardian. And, for all intents and purposes, Eco is basically the sequel to Shadow of the Colossus in a couple ways, which I'll explain later when I LP that game. I'm not sure when I'm going to do that. I was initially planning on doing that, with this, to coincide with this almost, because this game is very short. There's actually a trophy in this game to beat this in under 2 hours, and what's kind of lame about that is that it counts the cutscenes as part of the time, so if I show all the cutscenes, it'll be impossible to get, under 2 hours, but it is very doable. So, anyway, here we are, Eco. We're a 12-year-old young child, and we were born with horns, and that's supposedly a bad omen in this village that we live in, so they're gonna take us as a sacrifice. And here, this guy's got a really awesome sword. This game is very minimalist, alright? So there's very little in the ways of what's being told to you. I kinda like it because you kinda have to infer for yourself what you have to do. And also, it's cool in these cutscenes, you can actually kinda control them. The camera is very cinematic in this game, and it works very well. This game is more like, I don't know, an experience almost. I know I've already said that for Flower, but this game, and To the Moon, but this is an experience as well as a puzzler game. It is not, it's kind of weird that I didn't really think it was weird. I kind of somewhat planned it, but I think, I didn't really mention it much, but I'm pretty sure Amy took a lot of inspiration from this game, because this game pretty much is Escort Mission the game, but like way better, and it's like, it's difficult to explain, but you can definitely see the similarities between the simplicity and the gameplay, and the need to use your partner to, advance, even though Yorda is not exactly the most, prolific person to need for advancement, so the story is it's almost non-existential, but it, like I said, it kind of leaves your mind to fill in the blanks, which I really like in a game, and this game does a fantastic job at creating an atmosphere. That song you guys heard in the beginning is literally the only song you guys will hear. You'll hear these ambient noises, and it's just, this game has the atmosphere of just incredible amazingness, and I just love it, and it's just such a great game. And at the time, this game was kind of groundbreaking in the sense that, it came out 2001, and it's so cinematic at the time. Games were more, geared towards having really awesome, like, you guys know, like, games that came out in 2001. I'm trying to think, but never mind, I'm not gonna say anything, but Anyway, here we are being a sacrifice, and there's like, I guess, a mini earthquake going on. And I'm not going to talk through a lot of these cutscenes because they're really kind of good. And we're Eco. A lot of people pronounce it Ico. I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Eco. Like, I'm pretty sure many people before have said Eco, but oh, and we got hit really badly there. That looks like it would have hurt, man. So here we are starting off in this large room, and basically this game takes place pretty much 80% inside of this fortress slash castle. I'll probably be referring to it as both, but there's that. And like I said, this is primarily a platformer. It's very clever for the time, especially, but it's a bit dated, I'm not gonna lie, but it's still very it was very good. Like, I didn't play this until 2003, and I was just blown away. And there are some differences between the PlayStation 2 version and the HD re-release, and I'll try and make note of those because I don't own that game anymore on the PS2, so it's just basically what's coming from memory. And we have some black dribbles. So like I said, this game is very short, but of course this is not a speed run, okay? I want to kind of, you know, I can't stress that enough. This isn't going to be a speed run, but I still will complete it fairly fast. And so we have a figure rising from the shadows. And so So wait, we just got teleported back to the room we just started in the game at. That entire last part was unnecessary in my opinion, but anyway, here we are, and here we're controlling Eco. Now, controls are basically, they're kind of weird. Basically, you press triangle to jump, and then you press O to walk, and then you can use that to use your items. We'll be able to get weapons later on we'll be able to use, and we'll shimmy, and we'll be able to do all that kind of stuff. So we're going to go ahead and continue on. You'll notice the camera here, it actually kind of acts on a swivel. We can actually, like, move around without having Eco on the screen. They're almost completely undependent on each other, but it is in a fixed spot, so as long as Eco's in the specific spot, we'll only be able to move it in a specific area, but the camera will change by itself. It is a very cinematic camera, and it has its own, like, mind of its own, pretty much, and it kind of throws me off sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, but it is very good. Here we've got levers. I'm gonna go ahead and press that down. And like I said, we can kind of, you know, control the cutscenes there. I won't try and do it too much, but it is kind of funny sometimes. We can also do it while we're playing in the game, which is actually kind of cool, and you can kind of appreciate the motion capturing they did on this, because they did do a bit of minor motion capturing for this game, which was not done very much in 2001, and it still looks pretty good, like, now, as standing on its own as a PlayStation 2 game. But here we've got chains. You're going to want to keep in mind for those, because those are going to be very key aspects. You can hold O to actually, like, swing back and forth. He does it by himself, but I did not know that for the longest time. But at the same time, you can still, like, turn around the chain and jump from the other side, so there's that. Here we've got pots. These serve basically no purpose to the game whatsoever, but there are other things we're going to need to pick up, and I'm not going to spoil that right now. So let's head over here, out the window, and continue on our journey. And this game is just phenomenal. Like, it is, like, kind of an underrated game, and, like, not a lot of people, like, have played it, which is really unfortunate. I'm really glad that it got the HD release so that it could get, you know, a bit more recognition than it has in the past. And the fact that it's, you know, packed in with Shadow of the Colossus, and it's just, I think it's just the minimalist aspect that the game developers brought onto this is primarily what caused it not to perform so amicably in the United States. But still, if you're, like, a fan of, like, I hate to say it, like, artsy games, this is a very artsy game, like, not in, like, a bad sense. Like, I wouldn't consider this a mainstream artsy game by any means, because it's once you know what to do, this game is very linear. There is very little room for exploration, but it just seems like you pick something up that you never got last time, and it's a really good game, you guys. And so we're gonna head over here and jump to this chain and not miss whatever. We're gonna just jump from there. So some of the camera controls are kind of awkward. The physics are kind of funny sometimes, but it's not too bad. So we're gonna continue on up here, and we're gonna hopefully climb up this big long staircase. Oh man, what is this, Wind Waker? Sheesh. So we're gonna head over here and just keep on heading up, and this part is actually kind of long. A lot of this game actually does require a bit of backtracking, but it's not too terrible in the sense that we are in a fortress, and chances are we're gonna have to go into the same places. So remember, so the girl in there, her name is Yorda, and we would not be able to understand her when she spoke. It would just be random hieroglyphs, so keep that in mind. So they're using a completely fictitious language here, so don't worry about that. You'll notice that there's a gap here that we cannot quite cross. Well, you'll notice also that there's an open window here, and you gotta remember, open windows mean good stuff, man. So let's jump out the window and suicide ourselves into the death of the abyss. Let's head over here, and as you could probably imagine, we just jump on over past the thing right over there. And we'll head up into this broken window, which is conveniently placed on the other side of that gap, which is very nice for us because that requires less navigation on our part and more kick-assery. So this game relies kind of a lot on pressure switches and levers, so keep that in mind. That those are a couple things we're gonna need to make note of. And there's the cage is going down, you know, it's going downtown. So guess what we get to do, you guys? We get to do a little bit of backtracking. Now, Eco can actually jump off pretty high ledges, but some of them you might want to be a little bit careful because you can die if you fall from high enough heights, but sometimes it's always surprised me, like certain distances Eco can and can't fall and still survive. So I'm just gonna be on the safe side. I'm pretty sure I fell off one of these once and made it scot-free down, but I forgot which one it was, and I don't want to take a chance dying because there's a trophy to get through this without seeing a game over screen. There's a trophy for saving at all the save spots, and it's just a lot of it is just progressing through the game, but also there's the one where you have to beat it in under 4 hours or beat it in under 2 hours. I won't be able to get the 2, but I almost got the 4. If you guys saw, I beat the game in 4 hours and 2 minutes, and that was with viewing all the cutscenes, you know, so there's that. And we're gonna go ahead and drop down. If you press X while on a chain or on a ledge, you'll just drop down, but also you'll be able to grab back on. If you're like on a ladder, on a really tall ladder, and you fall, you can press X and grab on in mid-fall and still be okay. So there's that. And let's see, what else is there? There's a couple others. There's not very many secrets in this game. There is one particular unknown secret. It's like you would never have guessed it unless you knew, but it's still a very, very good secret that we're going to want to do, and I think it differs between the PlayStation 2 version and the HD remix, but whatever. So let's head over here, and let's go see what we saved over here. And wait a minute. Oh, so she didn't fall down. Oh, that sucks. Well, she's right over here. Over here to the right, we have idle doors. And basically, if you die, you're gonna have to go back to your save spot. But also, if those save spots are where you come back if you turn off the game. Idle doors are kind of like checkpoints, you know. And if you die, you come back to the idle door that you last passed. But save points are more of the permanent thing. So we're gonna jump over here and hopefully make it on to this chain right here. There it is. Eco, you fat ass. Oh. Now remember, we wouldn't be able to understand her, so I kind of want to stress that because it kind of had much more of a mystery to it if you didn't know, but... Okay, so you see those shadow creatures, those are actually going to be kind of a big part to this game. These are the only enemies you find in the entire game, and basically what they're going to try to do is they're going to try and take Yorda into those black portals of death. And you do get about 15 seconds to take care of them before she gets disappeared into them, but you're still going to want to be careful because if you leave Yorda alone for too long, then like in a separate area, you know, where you have to go, then you're going to want to be careful for that because it can actually cause a game over, which is your primary source of death other than falling off ledges. Alright, so this is basically where the hand-holding aspect of the game comes into play. Now, yeah, I know what you're thinking, you know. This is kind of like Amy, but in reversed roles. The child is taking the, well, I guess the more adult. Yorda's been, I guess, speculated to be aged, you know, around 14 to 17 years old. But I kind of saw her as a young adult. I kind of saw her as like around 20s, early 20s, and then I always thought Eco was like 10 years old, but he's actually 12. So basically, we walk around with her. She's basically an infant. She needs her hand to be held a lot of the time, but she is also quite well self-reliant. She does not need us every single time. So keep that in mind, that she's actually not as useless as you might think. And also, Eco makes that little which is so, like, I don't know, it's such a funny thing. And then I love how he does this thing. He always does this, like, hand thing, like, come on over here. Like, it's so funny, like, oh, man. And then here's this part, which I'm probably going to end off here in a second. So we're going to hold our hands over here. And just look at it. It's so, like, fluid. Like, they'll switch hands and stuff, like, it doesn't, like, interfere. But there's, like, the kind of the, you know, the pull and tug feel. Like, you'll notice that I won't just be running. Like, sometimes she'll stop a little bit, and you'll end up stopping a little bit because she stopped. It's really a nice little touch, and I really enjoy that aspect. But here we are. This huge-ass cliff. So anyway, here's our save spot, and we're going to go ahead and, you know, go ahead and sit down. We need Yorda to save, and I love right here, like, look at his, like, little hand motions. It's like he's saying, like, come on in, the water's fine. I love that so much. So this is basically going to be our form of saving, and I guess I'll just show you guys what we got here. I'm not going to save on the sandy beach. I'll just save that for later. I'll just go alternate between my last two files, and yeah, so we're going to go ahead and save over here, and yes. So remember, if we just skip a whole bunch of cutscenes, we'll be able to beat this in under 2 hours, but of course that's not going to happen, and I'm going to show off as much as I can of this game. So I'll be skipping the save portions for the most part, so you guys won't have to see me like resave every single time. I'll probably just let you guys know, you know, where I'm saving and, you know, how much time we've elapsed, even though this is going to be a very short project, and I'm hoping to do maybe 20-25 minute episodes as opposed to, you know, or, you know, 15 minutes or something, because we're going to get this done pretty quick here. And then eventually get into Shadow of the Colossus, but again, I'm not exactly sure when I'm going to do that. So, there is Eco for you in a nutshell. We're going to definitely get back into more of this later, where we're going to get into the, you know, the meat and bone into this game, which is very nice. So, my name is Ellison Cruz. I hope you guys enjoyed this first episode of Ico, whatever you want to call it, and talk to you guys next time. See you later.